Chase Sexton wins a clutch second moto.
It's just people doubting me. I don't doubt myself, so that's why I came out here and won that first moto.
Yeah, dude, I'm excited. Got a great Title 24 today presented by NBC Sports. Like always, we've got to thank our great partners at United Motorsports, Boxo, Quad Lock, and Dunlop. Excited about this show. But before we get going, RV, dude, you had a good run at Mammoth. I saw that.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
so wait, you told us that you were straight up going to race the pro class.
So obviously I've been on the road. I think I've been gone 20, 22 days in the last 30. So been wide open, and Mammoth was the last one of that stint. So I showed up home from a Blue Crew race up in Portland. I was only home for 2 days, and then jammed up to Mammoth on Wednesday. But all the boys at Fast House, Fonzie and Kenny, signed me up for multiple classes, not really kind of knowing what I was going to ride, what day I was coming in, and things like that. So yes, I was signed up for the 450 Open Pro. Once I got there, I did a little bit of media stuff with Mammoth and collab with myself. So really cool. But then I started looking at the schedule. The 450 Pro Open had qualifiers. It was a 10-lap main event. It was the last moto of the day. So while we were up in the village in Mammoth, walking around, getting some dinner, having a few drinks, I text back Fonzie. I said, "Hey, I'm pulling out a 450 Open. Put me in 25 plus Pro A, B, and C." We had Cole Martinez in that class, a couple other pretty fast guys, and actually Goose was in the class. I haven't seen Goose forever, dude. And
dude, did he crash on the start?
He didn't. But second moto after our red flag, second moto, I pulled a big old hole shot, which was rad again, and off the concrete gate. Haven't started on concrete in 20 years.
Wow.
Yep, concrete gate still up there, but they had to red flag it. So second moto, I didn't get the third start. Actually, I didn't get the jump I wanted. And Goose was coming up the hill. We came to the top, and I just let her eat up next to him. Rev limiter, clutch in. He goes, "All right, I'm letting him go." So, and then we jumped in behind me. So a good weekend all in all. Mammoth is this very, very special place. Fast House puts on an amazing event along with Myron Short. So yeah, it was a blast.
Right. That's awesome. How was the arm pump factor? You want to walk us through that real quick?
Crazy thing is I actually don't get arm pump in my forearm. I get almost like a carpal tunnel where my wrist and hand goes numb and just starts to tingle. So like I lose the feeling in it. But it's not from arm pump. My arm is not pumped up. But other than that, lungs felt like they got ejected out of my chest after those motos. 7 laps for 8,400 feet, man. So it's high.
Well, I'm glad you had a good time. Yeah, you were blowing it up on social. Looks like the fam and the kids had fun. Looks like the fans were pumped. You had a great time. You're safe. Good 2-2 on the day. So good job, dude. Good job.
Buddy.
That's awesome.
It was real good.
Hey, let's peel the Band-Aid off. Boxo breakdown this week. Our man Hector's got some tape. So before we get into the breakdown, roll this Legends last 4 weeks or 5 weeks of racing, Hector.
I was behind Levi. I know Levi, man. I've trained with him for years. I know it. Even though he made a mistake, I knew eventually he'd start fading a little, so I was going to get him at the end.
I don't know. You think, Levi, I deserve that win or no?
Tom was there. I mean, I feel like right before I crashed, though, I crashed and I had a pretty good gap behind me. I don't know what happened to Tom, made a mistake or something, but I went down and I was like, we're not doing this again. I'm getting back up and I'm doing whatever it takes. I don't care if I go down again. I'm getting to the lead. And yeah, it was cute. Tom ran into me. That was, he went down. But anyways, I was sick. Yeah, I got cut off on the start by chance. And I know, I get it. He obviously thinks he has a chance. So I had to show him that, he doesn't in that moto. And I came from 30th to first. Yeah, dude, I was like in third and I was kind of in a stall, and then I seen Vial. He lost like half a second, and I was like, oh, I'm sending it. I'm like, balls to the walls. We'll see where we end up. And yeah, I caught up to him at the very end, and I was lining the pass up for the outside, and he slid out. So yeah, got the dub though, and I think I proved you guys wrong with the Santa theory.
Dude, the guy is hey. there's nothing anyone can say that about this dude. He is answering all the bells. He's backing up all the talk. And I don't even know that. I mean, I think he's just having fun, dude. He's a young kid and he lets it go, but ain't no one can talk any words because that guy's making it happen, bro.
He totally is. I mean, he's on a roll. He's got a, I think 38-ish point lead, 42 point lead, right? So
Yeah.
Hector, what do we have some point standings there? But nonetheless, it's he's on a roll. Yeah, we got a 42 point lead on Chance, 43 on Tom, and Levi 61. As this racing, gets into the middle of the season and then starts to close out here very shortly. Is he up there? Is he throwing some cocky words around? He is, but here's the thing. He's backing it up. We've said it on the show. He put in some outstanding rides. He's fallen and he's passed his way back up. And he's won from little mistakes, from little falls. Southwick being a very, very, very tough track. We saw that on the broadcast. I got to watch all of that, and he's answering everybody's questions. I'm like, okay, when is this when are the wheels going to fall off? He struggled last year at Southwick, but he was able to come through this weekend and put an outstanding performance. And man, he's got everybody, like I said, on their heels. Like where the points are right now, it's not over, but it's kind of over. I hate to say it.
Yeah. Hey, so I had some questions and I was thinking about this quite a bit, both not only for Haiden with the 450, and this is like what I'm pumped about this episode for Title 24 today. It's a little bit different, but like as far as strategy goes, so like you got a guy like Haiden who's pretty much unstoppable. Like if Ryan Villopoto is racing and you can tell us some stories, like what are you doing during the week? Like, how do you change your strategy rather than, I know we always say, well, he's got to do this to just, there has to be a plan to just go out rather than just to beat him. What does that look like? Like, what are you doing if you can't beat him on fitness because he goes all the way in to, he doesn't get tired. He's putting some of his best rides in at the last 10 minutes of the race. How do you beat a guy like that?
That's the tough part because of the fitness side. Now, I would say strategy wise during the week, obviously not knowing everybody's program to the T, these guys are putting in their laps, they're putting in their gym work, they're putting the cycling in. So that's not something that is new, right? That's we've all been doing that for many, many years. And I think just where Hayden's at right now, he's got the fitness, but he's also got the speed. So I think that, yes, trying to build and find those little those next levels during the week is very hard to do. As you know, in between races, we only have about 3 days of riding. You're also trying to recover. You're trying to get your training in. So there's not a lot, I hate to say it, there's not a lot you can do during the week, but strategy for the weekend, guys like Tom, guys like Levi that have the speed, but maybe not for 30 minutes or for the whole duration, or at least not that last 10 minutes. I think you have to force him into a mistake. So what I mean by that is start up front with him, number one, and put as much pressure as you can on him for as long as you can, in hopes that, that Haiden won't break away from you. You can keep that pressure on. And after say 10, 12, 15 minutes, and he hasn't broke Tom or broke Levi or broke, Chance, one of those other front runners, maybe then he starts to second guess and question his lines on the track and tries to push a little bit harder, and maybe you force him into a mistake. But at that point too, you're closing in on halfway of the moto, and now we all know his end result and his end fitness of those 35-minute motos is he's strong. So if you can't break him by 15 minutes and force him into a mistake, that's really hard. The race is almost over at that point, and we know he's fit. So I think it needs to come from a mistake, putting pressure on Haiden, which he handles and deals with very well. So it's almost like a catch-22, because you're going to blow yourself out from the fitness standpoint, running that pace for 15 or 20 minutes, and then you only have X amount in the tank to bring it across the finish line. So it's there is some strategy there, but I would say right now for the lights, or for the 250 guys, man, they really got to put him under pressure, and hopefully force him into a mistake.
Exactly. That dude, you took the words right out of my mouth. I want to elaborate on one thing for our listeners and viewers, whether you guys listen to us on just the audio version or you watch us on Peacock or Motorsports on NBC's YouTube page. I feel I go back to when I was racing in 2001 RV and I started to figure out how to beat MC and like challenge him in Supercross, and I could kind of hear from his side of things that he was just waiting for me to toss it, and like consistency would prevail. And I feel like I knew that I was riding the edge, but I wasn't riding over the edge. So yeah, I mean, I'm going to get loose. I'm going to hit some tough blocks, whatever, but I was in my comfort zone. And I feel like if any of Hayden's competitors are rolling the dice that he's going to toss it and he can't ride that edge, I think they're going to be waiting a really, really long time, because I've been in that situation again, like I was telling you, in 2001. And I just don't know. And what I wonder is if these guys can't ramp it up during the week. And like you said, it's so hard at this part of the season. I mean, we've finished Supercross season. We're halfway through the Pro Motocross Championship. It's so hard to what you're saying, to make those big gains at this time of year. You need a good chunk of time to work on, whether it be fitness, whether it be sprinting speed. I don't know that even if you pressure him, if he's going to go down, because I think maybe he's so smart that he'll back it off, and maybe he plays the long game. He's like, okay, I don't think that if you pressure him, he's going to go into the deep and he's going to toss it. I just don't think he's going to do that. So how do you beat the dude if you can't pressure him?
Yeah, I mean, I ultimately, like what I said is what I think is how you would have to beat Haiden. But also too, like you said, if he's going to play the long game and he's going to wait till maybe he drops into that second or drops into that third position, right? Because the pace is high and he doesn't want to run that long on the edge. He, in the back of his pocket, he knows that he's the fittest, and with 12 minutes to go, he can start pouring on a little bit more as those guys are getting tired, just like we've saw in multiple rounds so far. In the last 4 rounds, basically, I would say from start of the season, he's kind of had a little bit of one up on the rest of the field, and it's really starting to show now, and especially at Southwick on that rough track, that gnarly, and Southwick's a unique place. I know it's not the bottomless sand that Europeans have over in Europe, but it's one of the harder tracks to ride because you're not going straight very long. There's a hard base. So for that, I would say he would just drop back and wait for his time to pounce, right? For 12 minutes to go, 10 minutes to go, and then start pouring it on. But yeah, I think the only way that they beat him at this point is forcing him into a mistake. But you said he's so smart.
I don't think he can.
It may not happen.
I don't like. So what would you have done? Like for me, if Reedy was on my tail in Supercross and it was deep into the moto and I couldn't drop him, like in a Supercross race, or Stu, those two guys, I just think of them because those are the last guys that I raced. Is, dude, you just basically surrender the position and again play the long game. And I think that's where Hayden's at. If they are going to do what you're saying, then he just takes a second. Dude, it's almost impossible to beat that. Have you ever been in a position like that where you're getting pressured and you just can't break the guy and you're like, screw it, I'm just going to take the second tonight? I mean, I've had some scenarios with Dunge where he either just stayed right there, ran me down. I mean, I can remember a Supercross race. I think he passed me on lap 18. That was a home race for Dunge in Minnesota. I remember that. Yep. Lap 18. He just pressured. And I started just to crack a little bit, and he was able to get me, I think, on lap 18. Ben Townley back in 2007, I can specifically remember it was at Millville where I could not break him. I think it was the first or second moto. Couldn't break. I was leading. I couldn't break him.
So I let him by to follow him, and then, was able to pass him back. But the problem I see is with the rest of the field against Haiden is Haiden has the fitness, but Haiden also has the speed above everybody right now. And it's not just a little bit. He can, if he wants to throw down, he can throw down some blistering fast laps throughout the moto, and pretty much any time. We've watched, like I said, we've watched him tip over. He tipped over at Southwick and was able to pick the bike back up, catch back up to those boys. So he's kind of got them on the end of the rope. He's riding super well. It's, like I said, 42-point lead. So at that point too, he's also managing the championship. Yes. Does he want to win? Yes, he does. We can see that. You can see the aggression when he's riding, how aggressive he's jumping, how far he's jumping on some of those singles, and just the way he rides the track. And the other thing I will say is every weekend that we show up to different conditions in different places and different tracks, we haven't seen him falter yet where he just has an off weekend, right? We're 5 or 6 rounds into this thing already, and he's shown up swinging every weekend. So that's what also makes it hard.
Yeah, 100%. Before we switch gears to the 450, as far as the other competitors, I mean, dude, Jaime's still out there doing great. And I think he's banged up a little bit too. And dude, he's been super consistent, getting great starts. Joe had a good one, but of all the competitors, I had a question. I was curious if you have the same person that I have. Are you surprised in one of the competitors that in this championship that you were expecting a little bit more out of?
Yeah, I mean, Levi, number one. I was
Really?
expecting. Yep, I was expecting Levi to be more consistent, put himself in better positions every single weekend. Maybe not being, on the top step of the podium every weekend, but he's faltered. He's had some bad throwaway motos, let's call it. Some outside the top 5 finishes a couple times already. And then Joe, right? Like I've talked about this early in the season when we were still in Supercross, like didn't have a Supercross season that Joe wanted to, nor that Honda wanted to. Started to kind of pour it on a little bit towards the end, but still nothing that I was expecting. And then here he comes out swinging in at Southwick, rode phenomenal that second moto, but still it's just it's very too far and few between his amazing rides, his rides where he's on the top step of the podium or even on the podium, so that consistency is what kills him. Like you have to be up there. So I would say those two riders to me are the ones that I was expecting more out of.
Yeah, the one guy, it's funny, I thought for sure you were going to say Vial. That's the guy that I feel like I kind of had higher hopes for him. I really did. Especially coming off of Supercross. He got through Supercross injury-free for the most part, wins the championship. And, you're like, dude, this is like, he's going to be rolling. This is his game, right? 2-time MXGP champ, MX2 champ. And it just fits into his wheelhouse. And he hasn't, I don't know, something's missing there. I expected more from him for sure.
Yeah.
And
maybe, do you think, Ricky, is it just the pace being so high, like kind of where Haiden
I think it is. I think it is. I think it is.
Yeah,
dude.
when you watch, I think it was maybe second moto as what was it, the restart of the 250 class. Like I think Levi pulled both hole shots, second moto and the third moto start. And Levi, for example, sprinted. He sprinted up front. He was very quick, but it seemed like he only had that fast, really quick laps the first couple of that second moto, and then he had to drop back into a pace that he could sustain, where Haiden could keep running that pace for much longer in the opening laps of the second moto. And that's huge, right? Like that comes down to a fitness thing. Like we talked about Haiden being super fit. He's able to sprint, and he's also able to get that heart rate back down after the 3 or 4 lap opening laps and a major sprint and push on those opening laps. He's able to recover, get that heart rate down, and keep that pace up there within half a second of the fast laps, where to me it looked like Levi had to drop back down to, let's call it, like, let's go a second and a half slower, when that's huge per lap, right?
Oh, dude. Yeah, absolutely it is. Yep. That's it for the 250. Before we get to the 450s, Dunlop due diligence section.
Yes,
and I'm excited for that. Well, they ran the scoop this weekend, right?
Oh, yeah.
I'm hearing that the scoop's working better on tracks that you would think they wouldn't work, and like all these riders are going for the scoop just straight up for the tire and willing to take, or for the start, and willing to take the loss on other parts of the track. So if you haven't checked out one of those Dunlop scoops, get after it. Did you like the scoop? I know that scoop tire.
Oh yeah, I mean, honestly, it was probably one of my least favorite tires to use, but I will say that with all the R&D that Dunlop does, it's obviously been a long time since I raced, and even longer for you. So where the scoop has come to today, the development they've put into it, I'm sure I haven't ran the new scoop and like I said, ever, and haven't ran a scoop tire in a very long time. But just the evolution and where they're the testing and the R&D that they're putting into the tires, I'm sure it's that much better. And that's why you're seeing them, like you said, you have guys that are picking them potentially for first motos for the start, but also being able to understanding that they have to manage it on the hard pack parts of the track. So that tells me the tire is much improved from what I ran, because you would never ever think about running a scoop tire if it wasn't the track.
Like, would you run it at Redbud? Would you run it at Redbud?
I think I may have run it at Redbud when it was really deep once or twice, but other than that, no, it was like hey, it's Southwick time. Here we're going to Southwick. We put the scoop on, and that was the only time we would really run the scoop tire. But now guys it's a much more refined tire, and they're able to run it on a lot more different conditions than we used to be able to.
Right. So getting into the due diligence part, and Jett's wounded a little bit, but take that out of the equation, just to role play. And like, he doesn't have any more mulligans. He gave one up at Hangtown. And like, deep down in your heart, do you truly believe or think that Hunter or Chase has it to beat him for the championship? Deep down,
I honestly no. When it comes down to last round for the championship, I think Jett takes it home and brings home this a second outdoor pro motocross championship. And the reason why I think that is he gets great starts. He doesn't falter very often. And number one, his speed is phenomenal, and he's still been able to back up these wins and these great rides. Being with a banged up shoulder, right? So I think those are huge statements. And I think also just how smart both of them are, but Jett, who we're talking about currently, is being able to rein it in when you have that little bit of an injury. I think he knows that he is quicker than those guys. I think Chase may be one of the fittest guys in the 450 class, but lots of mistakes come along with that. So I think he's mentally and physically got Chase beat. Maybe not all out for like I said, like the all out fitness side of it, but we only have one Southwick. We only have, it's like we could show up next weekend and it could be, 75 degrees where heat or fitness really isn't going to come into play. And now you have, on Jett's side, now you have how smart he is. He's very methodical. His riding style is very smooth. So I honestly, I think he's going to keep, taking chunks out of these points, and eventually he'll be running red plate, and he'll take that points lead and stretch it out a bit more. And like we're looking right now, we got Hunter Lawrence with 213, and Jett's only 3 points down, and same with Chase, and 3 points down. So Chase and Jett are tied with only 3 points down from Hunter at 213. And then you go down to Justin Cooper, that's 37 down. So at this point, we have a 3-man race. But if I'm a betting man and I'm in Vegas, I am taking Jett's number for sure.
Jett. Yeah.
You have to.
A lot like
how do you not,
no,
Ricky?
you and I'm going to tell you why. So a lot like what we talked about in the 250 class, and not really busting down the race and all this crap, going in deep and maybe answering some questions of why and like what people think we think of why this guy is so good. But here's the thing, and it's like a lot of times, like for you could rely on your strengths and your competitor's weakness, and that's how you ended up winning. And the thing about the 450 that I believe is interesting, and this is why, and to back up what you're saying, why I think Jett will prevail in the end if his shoulder is okay, is it's tough because when you're racing against someone and you like let's just talk about Chase, for example. He can't rely on Chase getting tired because Chase is, if not the best guy in shape in the field for sure. But he can rely on Chase making a mistake. That keeps happening over and over and over again. Now, he's making less mistakes, but they're still there. And mind you, like Jett is only 3 points out of the lead, and he gave up a moto. So imagine, I mean, listen, dude, I know people are going to chew us up for saying, well, that's why you race. Of course it is, I know. But if you're looking at everything and being honest with yourself, like he's got a pretty healthy points lead. And then you have to think about how many points he hasn't gotten because he's had to take it easy because his shoulder's sore. Saw it. Let's talk about Southwick, for example. Yeah. So that's why when you look at all those factors to what you're saying, it's hard to bet against him. And again, especially if nothing is truly torn or wrong with the shoulder, it's just bruised. It's gonna be tough. And I just don't know how you beat the dude if you don't have anything better than him, really.
Yep. And to add to that, I think the most impressive, I think, out of the 450 coming from Southwick was probably those 4 or 5 mid to late laps that Hunter put in and actually, bridged a gap, pulled a little bit of a lead on Chase and Jett. I think they swapped positions once or twice. Hunter was really starting to pour it on. Now he completely blew his load, and towards the end of that moto, you could see it. The energy that he spent putting in those laps, definitely got to him, and you could see that towards the end of the second moto for sure. But what is interesting and is exciting to talk about is the speed was there, right? So as we've talked about, Hunter being a rookie in the 450 class in Pro Motocross, along with Supercross, and going back to, we've talked about it on the show in the past, his trajectory of the 250 career with the injuries mixed in with that, has definitely taken a slower route to building up to where Jett is. But I think we're starting to see that, like, to ride those laps, to put that to run that pace at Southwick second moto 15 minutes in, and to be able to have those types of laps. And also like he's leading the points. It's only by 3, but if he can keep building, that's something exciting and interesting to look at too. Where does this come down at round 10 or 11? If our points are close and Hunter is still building like he is building. I'm not saying he's for sure going to beat his brother, but there's an opportunity there. Where the points are right now, being only three up on Chase and Jett, and he's starting to pour it on. I was very intrigued by like I said, that late moto laps that he put in very, very quick, until it wasn't.
Yeah. I think, like, expanding on what you're saying, the 450, it's going to come down to, consistency, maybe not so much speed also for this championship, because Chase has been a little over the map. Obviously Jett he's kind of had a little roller coaster, even though he's still won 3 or 4 races this year.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
except,
not like it was.
Except for one.
That's right. And it's not like, he's just not what he was last year. And he's a little banged up, right? You got to assume. But going back to like, hey, how do you beat this guy and why do you pick Jett as a favorite? And I go back to like, it would be tough to be in a position like Jett's competitors, the position they're in, because I always felt like I had something to fall back on when I was racing. If I was like racing MC, I was able to fall back on, I could ride that edge, and I knew he wasn't willing to go over that edge. So I relied on that to beat him. Then later on in my career, RV, it was like, my strategy to challenge Stu. It's like, I knew he wasn't going to, I knew in outdoors majority of the time in a 24 moto championship that he wasn't going to beat me on fitness. And that was my ace card for him. And sometimes he was going to get me on speed, but in the end, I could rely on that fitness to take me over the top. Mm-hmm. For Chad in outdoors, I had the raw speed, and I think I was in better shape than he was. So I always had that thing to rely on, just like I feel like you did. And I don't know that and I don't think that any of Jett's competitors have that certain something to fall back on. And that's got to be a tough position to be in. And I don't know how you fix that, dude.
I agree. Like I said, we talked about it for the 250 class. There's really not a ton you can do during the week. You try to maintain what we have during the week in this long series, right? There's not a lot of building, even on weekends off, when we're not racing. Yes, you might be able to load up the program a little bit more than a back-to-back racing weekends, but still it's not like boot camp, right? It's not like the off season where you can just load on and stress the body and try to, build up the fitness or the speed, because you don't have the time. So yeah, it's tough. I think that the guys need, they do need to find something, but it's, once again, I was going to bring this up too. It's so tough because Jett really, I don't know if I've seen a real terrible start this year. Like, he's always within the top 5 right up front, where Chase will falter on a gate drop and not be in the position. And then Jett's up front or second or third, and boom, the right to the lead. And he's out front, running that deal. And then Chase has to chase him down. That is very hard to do. So the consistency, like you said in the 450 class, is so huge. They don't have, at this point, there's not much of a chink in Jett's armor that I can see. And if I can't see it, I doubt that they can see it, or there is much at this point.
Yeah, it's definitely difficult when you don't have anything to rely on. You know what I mean? Like, I'm talking about Jett's competitors. So, but it's still, at the end of the day, it's a tight race, and it's going to come down to consistency. Moving along, United Motorsports moment of the week. If you haven't, check out United Motorsports. They got a great online presence, or pop in their stores if you want to. Remember, you get a gift card and a credit if you sign up. Use the unitedmotorsports.com/title24 to give you a credit, and you can go there do some shopping. But anyhow, Hector, roll that incredible second moto in the passes for Sexton. Great run. This is one of those motos, RV, where he's just absolutely untouchable. And it's just one of those, where I don't feel like you can beat the man when he's riding like this. And for me, this is where I'm like, well, how come he can't ride like this every single moto or majority of the time? And what can he do to put in rides like this every single weekend? But it was a lot of every single moto, and it was a lot of fun to watch. Although I will say, Jett was clearly wasn't 100% there. So it made the ride look even that much better and more incredible. But just an incredible moment again for Chase Sexton. It's kind of like those Eli Tomac rides when he was just in beast mode. So anyhow, incredible run. What do you think? What do you think he needs to do, dude? I mean, I know
it's great ride. Great ride by Chase, that second moto. I don't know how much like confidence that brought, or build that he has from that second moto. Just knowing that that if there is a shoulder injury, and how smart they are, like how both of the brothers, but Jett, for example, yes, I'm sure that was a confidence builder, but he's still
stop right there. Right there. Why? Let me ask you this, and I'm going to role play you because this is how it would have been for me. If I knew that I beat someone and they are wounded, to me, taking everything into consideration, it wouldn't have given me the any more mental confidence, because I knew I beat him and he wasn't 100%. So it's kind of like, so why would that give him confidence? If he's being honest with himself, he didn't beat the best version of Jett Lawrence.
He did not. And I don't know how much it actually gave confidence to somebody like Chase just with a one moto win. Right. So yes.
Would it give you confidence?
Yeah, no, I don't. I like you said, he's a bit wounded. It was only a second moto win. It wasn't like a 1-1 on the day, right? So if you come into a weekend like that and one of your competitors is banged up a little bit, not hurt, but banged up, now is when you really kind of pour the fuel on the fire. And if you can get a 1-1 on that day, and then you can look back and say, yes, he was banged up, but I rode well and I was able to get, I went 1-1 on that day. I think a 1-1 builds some confidence, but only winning the second moto, Jett winning the first moto, he's still now it's kind of like it's a toss up, right? Like, yeah, he won the first, Jett won the first moto with a banged up shoulder, still really fast, did what he was supposed to do. Yes, I got him on the second moto, but to me, that's not just, that's not enough. I don't think that's enough. Like if Chase could have went 1-1 at Southwick, even though Jett may be a little bit banged up, now I think you have a little more wind in your sails. But just going off of a second moto win at Southwick and Jett winning the first moto, even with a banged up shoulder, to me as an athlete, that shows me like, yeah, he might have a hurt wing, but it's not hurting him enough to where it's going to give me a real advantage, because I didn't go 1-1 on the day. I didn't beat him the first moto. Yes, I got him the second moto, but and they swapped out, actually, I don't think they swapped points. I think, didn't Chase go 3-1 for 3-1, I believe? Yeah, 3-1. Yeah, exactly. So it's not like it was this all stellar day, right? Even against somebody with, like I said, with a hurt shoulder. So yes, maybe a little bit of confidence, but probably not what he needed or wanted from coming out of Southwick.
Yeah. Did you think AC did a good job? I thought he did.
I did. I actually, I thought he did a phenomenal job down on the field, or down on the race course.
Yeah.
Very insightful. I thought it was a really good, especially for his first outing. I think he's a great man for that position. I think that I think he did a phenomenal job, and I like that trackside position for him.
You like him in the reporter position.
I like it in that trackside, really getting down getting on the field and getting down on that trackside, getting on the outdoor track, and getting him to see, because once you as an announcer, you can be down there, you can see what how that track's really developing. Obviously, freshly retired.
Yeah.
Got to race Southwick last year. He did, Adam did. So really knows the ins and the outs of it, and knows these athletes too very, very well.
That's right. He did an awesome job. I love it too, how it's so weird for us to say he's retired, but I like his point of view. And the reason that I like his point of view, like what you just said, he's so fresh that, the sport is continuously evolving And, whether it's the bikes, the fitness, the riders, lines they take, their mental approach, all that. And he has the most relevant view of it. And it was cool to hear his insights. So I look forward to him being there. All right, dude. Before we get going, this is one of the favorite sections of Title 24. It's a quad lock question of the week. You guys know what to do. Submit your questions to our Instagram and Title 24 Instagram. We go through what we think is the best question, and you have an opportunity to win some product from Quad Lock. So thank you, Quad Lock, for your partnership and supporting Title 24 and giving away some merch. Not even merch, but some product to our loyal, right? It's good stuff. So the winner this week of the Quad Lock question of the week is Brian Moose Chandler. Brian asks, with AC retiring at such a young age and most other senior riders that retire before their mid-30s due to injuries, has the sport turned into more of a show versus rider safety? Been a fan of motocross since the 80s, and I even raced some in the late 80s and early 90s. The tracks didn't seem to be so technical back then, and you could roll more jumps if you miscalculated. Now it seems that riders are getting severely injured more frequently for the sake of the show. Well, I let me tackle this one, dude. Well, and then you obviously you're gonna contribute. So the speeds are 10 times faster. Gravity never changes. And so majority of the time, if you fall when you're going faster, the impact is going to be more severe. So there will be gnarlier injuries, sadly enough. And I hate that for our athletes. So I think that's a lot of the reason why. I don't think this isn't for a show. I mean, it is racing, and they do the best, like what the SMX track crew does, the Pro Motocross promoters, these racetracks that they go to, Brian, they try to, safety is the first and foremost thing. At the end of the day, motorcycle racing is risky, and these riders, they don't have to do what they're doing. If they don't feel comfortable doing stuff, you don't do it. RV, you won many championships being smart and maybe not doing gnarly sections that you knew you couldn't do for 20 minutes or 20 laps in a row. So you don't take that risk. No one is making you do anything. Now, if you want to win, you have to take that risk, and it's a risk versus reward. So the throttle, I've always said the throttle goes that way too. So Brian, this is a great question, but I feel that this is why some of the injuries are happening, just because of the speeds and the risks that they're taking. So that's my insight.
Yeah, no, I totally concur with you. And it's, you go back and you can use the 80s and the 90s and even the early 2000s when it was still two strokes and tracks were built more, differently than they are today. But to your point, Ricky, the main culprit of all of injuries of what we see is, man, just the evolution of our sport. The motorcycles are so fast today. It's no longer doubles and triples before. If you go back, guys, if we really go back, and it was even before my time, but I've heard the stories, and it wasn't much after once I came into being a professional, but there was times, and a lot of times, where when guys were riding 125s, we'll go back to 125s and 252 strokes, where only 3 or 4 of the riders, you'll know this, Ricky, because you were in the era of this, where only 3 or 4 of the top 5 of the 125 class would actually jump the Supercross triple. Back in the day, and that came down to power, right? And it came just obviously, and also riders and the evolution. Corner speeds gotten better, faster. Rhythm section speeds has gotten faster, and par for that, bikes have gotten better, suspension's gotten better and stiffer, and now we're jumping. It's not doubles and triples; it's triples and quads. Dirt Works, and like you said, all of our facility owners.
SMX track crew, bro, you're gonna get me in trouble.
That's right, SMX track crew.
There you go.
And all the promoters of our national tracks. Like, yes, safety is priority number one. We don't want anything that is unsafe out there. But the speeds that we're going, the speeds that the bikes will get us to, how quickly they get us to that speed, that is the biggest thing. And go back to any statistics of a car wreck, it's how fast do you slow down is not a lot of times. Like when you make a crash,
that sudden stop is a B, isn't it, dude?
Exactly. Yeah. The sudden stop. Right. And
Right.
coming off the motorcycle and obviously flying through the air and landing on a takeoff or, with your body, like it is what it is. The human body is pretty fragile when you really think about it. So like you said, the throttle goes both ways. They can open it up to go faster. They can shut her down if they need to. And I think the big thing too is this isn't a show. This is these guys' livelihoods. This is our job. And all these riders want to be the best in the world. So if you want to be the best in the world and you want to stand on top of that box with that big paycheck and that national championship or the Supercross championship, or the SMX championship, whatever it is, you're going to have to hang it out. You're going to have to learn to be uncomfortable and manage those uncomfortable feelings.
That's right.
And whatever gets thrown at with it, you got to be able to deal with it.
Amen. That was good stuff, Brian. That is why you win the Quad Lock question of the week. I like it. That was good. So you know what to do. Slide into the Title 24 Instagram page, and our co-producer Curly will pass you along to Quad Lock, and Quad Lock will send you some awesome product. I have no doubt that you will like it. Hector, roll up the Motorsports on NBC so we can show all of our viewers what is on tap. Motorsports on NBC, as you guys know, 2 p.m. Eastern. SMX Insider with Weege and Jason Thomas will be there Thursday. I was on for the big interview, so go check that out. Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern. Pro Motocross Race Day Live is live on Peacock, and then 2 p.m. Eastern. The Redbud National coverage begins at 1 p.m. on Peacock and NBC. That'll be live, I believe. And then 3 p.m. Eastern, NASCAR's Xfinity Series, Chicago Street Course. That's on NBC. And then, of course, Sunday, 1:30 p.m., NTT IndyCar Series Mid-Ohio. That'll be on NBC as well. And then the Cup Series will be at in the streets of Chicago. That was an awesome race last year as well, and just an incredible thing. So a lot of fun racing on NBC this weekend. RV, I am going to be back in the booth at Redbud. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to it. A little Buchanan, Michigan action, and flying to South Bend there. So it's been a little bit. I got to knock the dust off. It's going to be a lot of fun. And that's it. So it was a good show today. Yeah,
it was. Yeah. Redbud coming up this next weekend. So that's going to be, huge weekend, 4th of July. One of the best tracks on the circuit. Fans are incredible. So be really looking forward to watching Redbud and kind of seeing what these racers, what these athletes, what these competitors are going to bring to us. It's been no short of anything interesting so far this outdoor pro motocross season.
That's right.
Where the close points race there in the 450, and we'll see. I mean, Hayden's got a nice points lead on everybody else, but there's lots of racing left. Mistakes can happen, as pro motocross, as we saw. Have seen in the past, bike failures because of the stress they put these motorcycles under, or like I said, just a faltering, a mistake from one of these riders which could bring in, change up the points in a little bit. But I think that's what we kind of have to hope for in the 250 class as the points are getting stretched out there is for something to bring that back in a little bit closer. But as for the 450 class, we have a tight top three with only 3 points separating. So it's going to be an amazing weekend.
It is. It's going to be a good one. Everybody, thank you for all the support as always. And of course, United Motorsports, Boxo, Quad Lock, and Dunlop. We appreciate all of your support, all the fan interaction as well. Keep sending those questions. I know we didn't answer many questions today other than the Quad Lock question of the week. I just felt like we, Ryan and I wanted to share our our experiences and what it's like to go against guys like Jett and Haiden, and hopefully that everyone appreciated that. But again, thanks to Boxo, Quad Lock, Dunlop, United Motorsports. And remember, we are on all the app applications if you want to, podcast applications. Sorry, I'm losing my mind here, talking in this computer screen. So you can listen there, just the audio version, or we're always on Motorsports on NBC's YouTube page. And of course, we are on demand on Peacock. Check us out there if you want to watch it. And RV, we will do it again. Have a great day. And we appreciate all of you guys.
All right, boys. Thank you.
Hi, folks. Lee Diffie from NBC Sports here. If you truly enjoyed what you just watched, you can get more news, interviews, and highlights by subscribing to the Motorsports on NBC YouTube page. You can get it all, so go for it.